So when you hear IB, or International Baccalaureate, you probably think rigorous, right? And yeah, it is. But what really sets it apart isn't just that it's hard. It's the philosophy behind how they assess students. It's designed to be so much more than just a grade you get at the end. Today, we're going to pull back that curtain and really get into the core ideas that shape how every single IB student gets evaluated. Let's start right here with this foundational idea from one of the IB's founders. The goal isn't what you learn, but learning how to learn. I mean, let that sink in for a second. So much of education is about, filling your head with facts. The IB's goal is to actually build the brain itself, to give you mental tools that you can apply to any new problem or situation you'll face, long after you've left the classroom. This one principle, it's the blueprint for everything we're about to talk about. Okay, so how do you turn a philosophy like that into an actual teaching method? Well, the IB calls it a constructivist approach. But forget the jargon for a minute. All it really means is that students aren't just empty buckets waiting for a teacher to pour information into them. Instead, learning is an active process. You're building your own understanding, connecting new ideas to things you already know. You become the architect of your own knowledge. And honestly, the IB was pushing this idea decades before it became a buzzword. Right, so if the whole point is to teach students how to learn, then what's the purpose of assessment? It can't just be about a final exam to see what you've memorized, and it's not. In the IB system, assessment is an active tool. It has a bunch of different jobs to do throughout the entire learning journey. Check this out. These 6 roles create a complete cycle. See, assessment isn't just the last thing that happens. It starts by supporting the curriculum and actively encouraging you to learn. Then, sure, it measures what you've achieved, but that information feeds back to the teachers so they can improve how they teach. That leads to fairer measurement for everyone, which builds a trusted foundation for whatever you do next. It's not an endpoint, it's a feedback loop woven right into the fabric of learning. But look, a big philosophy is great, but how you actually make it work fairly for hundreds of thousands of students all across the globe, you need clear, consistent rules. So now, let's get into the standards and practices that make sure a grade of 6 in Tokyo means the exact same thing as a 6 in Toronto. Here's a perfect example of how those big ideas get turned into real-world action. You have a broad goal, like administer assessment fairly. Okay, what does that mean? It becomes a specific requirement. Teachers have to standardize their marking. This is called internal moderation, and it's absolutely crucial. It means all the history teachers in a school, for example, get together to make sure they're all grading essays the same way. This local consistency is the first step toward creating a truly global standard. All right, we've talked philosophy, we've talked rules, but what does any of this actually look like for a student on, say, a random Tuesday morning? Let's shift gears from the high-level ideas to the practical reality of how students are actually evaluated. So every student's final grade is a blend of 2 totally different kinds of evaluation. On one side, you've got internal assessments, or IAs. These are things like projects, presentations, and lab work that are graded by your own teacher, the person who's seen your progress all along. And on the other side, you have the external assessments, mostly your final exams, which are sent off and graded by a global team of IB examiners. This combination is key because it balances your teacher's in-depth knowledge of you with a super consistent, objective, worldwide standard. And listen, don't just brush off those internal assessments as practice runs. They are a big deal. In most subjects, they count for a huge chunk of your final grade. We're talking 20 to 30%. And that's a deliberate choice. It's designed to reward the skills and the consistent effort you show over 2 whole years, not just how you perform on one single high-pressure exam day. Now, teachers also have this super important job of predicting grades for university applications. And this isn't just a wild guess. It's a professional judgment that's based on a mountain of evidence, mock exams, IAs, coursework, you name it. The teachers collaborate to make sure these predictions are as fair and accurate as possible, and the whole process is grounded in academic integrity. Okay, let's talk about those big final exams. To make sure grading is fair on a global scale, the IB uses this very precise tool called the command term. Think of these as the specific action words in a question. Words like describe, analyze, or evaluate. And in the world of the IB, each one of these words has a very specific, non-negotiable meaning. So that brings up a really important question, right? How can one little word in a question, like using evaluate instead of explain, radically reduce subjectivity and make grading fairer for everybody? Well, here's how it works. Each command term is directly linked to a specific thinking skill. Describe might just ask you to recall facts. Analyze means you have to break something down into its parts. And evaluate demands that you make a balanced judgment. This creates a crystal clear universal rubric. The student knows exactly what kind of thinking they need to show, and the examiner knows exactly what to look for. It just removes all the guesswork and makes sure every student is measured by the exact same yardstick.
So we have gone through the philosophy, the rules, and the different methods. Now for the final piece of the puzzle. How do all of these different components come together for a student to actually earn that coveted IB diploma?
It's not just about your 6 academic subjects. Every single diploma candidate also has to complete these 3 core components. You've got theory of knowledge, which is a course all about how we know what we claim to know. There's the extended essay, a full-on university-level research paper, and there's CAS, creativity, activity, service, which gets students out into the real world. Together, these 3 make sure the diploma isn't just about academics, but about developing you as a whole person.
So after 2 years of hard work, when all the internal and external assessments are graded and the core components are all signed off, it all comes down to a number. Each of your 6 subjects is graded on a scale from 1 to 7, and to earn the full diploma, you generally need to score a minimum of 24 points total.
And this brings us right back to where we started. After seeing the entire system, from the core philosophy to all the detailed rules, is IB assessment really just a way to get a grade? Or is it something more? Is it this deliberately crafted engine designed to build not just your knowledge, but your actual capacity for lifelong learning? Based on everything we've seen, I think the answer is pretty clear. It's not just about what you learn, it's about the learner you become.